It's recording.
Oh, we're on. It happened.
It's live.
We
It's
were on
live.
Twitter.
Yeah,
You guys-
Twitter wasn't ready for this.
Twitter was not ready for this. I hope this video makes it somewhere.
Do I have to tell you to put the mic to your mouth?
Oh, yeah, you do. I talk really loudly, so
We could always turn you down a little bit.
yeah. No, it's fine. I think we'll be good. Yeah. Well, for those of people who are just listening, I think you should paint a picture of how this podcast is going down.
So we're at Dave's parents' house, who live like 20 minutes from my house. We are outside on the deck. It is currently below freezing,
Yeah.
and there's 3 bottles of whiskey.
Yeah.
Technically-
Did I count?
Technically 2. One is an Armagnac.
One is Armagnac, which is distilled from grapes.
Correct. So not whiskey. There's recorders. There's pipes.
There are pipes.
And only legal products are being smoked in this pipes.
Yeah, that's actually true.
This is the first time I'm going to try to drink and smoke while recording a podcast.
Yeah, it's actually, I didn't think about the fact that you had handheld mics. And so having 3 things which require hands is actually sort of hard.
Yeah, we need like we need somebody to like
We need
hand you
people
a drink or put our whiskey in sippy cups.
or to hold our mics for us.
I bet we could sippy cup this. We'll like get a long ass straw.
Oh, yeah, we should just do sippy cups. Why didn't we bring whiskey straws?
Ooh, yeah. Get it so the straw like join them up together so they reaches all the way to your mouth.
In Colorado, we had this idea. You know Kevin?
Yes.
So he had this big condo, this 2-bedroom condo, and he didn't own a piece of furniture. And
A mattress on the floor, or
yeah, so he finally got a mattress from his landlord, who found out he had no furniture, and he was just like sleeping on the floor of this like massive condo.
so he rents a two bedroom
Yeah.
condo.
Yes. It's big. It's got a huge full length like it's a 4th floor deal or higher, and it's got this huge full length terrace. What do you call it in English?
Balcony.
Balcony. Thank you.
I like how you're asking me to words in your first language.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because one of my ways I make money is as a writer of English, and I'm losing it all. So we had this idea to throw a series of parties there where we have people as the furniture, and they sign up for 5-minute time slots to be a table or this, and by signing up for a time slot, you're allowed to attend the party and drink and eat. But like someone has to be a light, like hold the lamp for 5 minutes, and you have shifts. And so people are chairs or tables, whatever they're comfortable being.
I feel like this has already been done, but like on Martha's Vineyard or like some sort of like where boat shoes and
Yeah,
salmon colored shorts are required.
probably where you bought this tobacco, actually.
Yeah, I did. I bought this tobacco in this old school tobacco shop right next to Harvard in Cambridge, Mass. Hanging out with 2 of my favorite people. You know who you are. You listen. But yeah, yeah, they would definitely have it.
They would definitely. Well, sadly, we never actually did that party, but now I'm thinking that we should have people.
Wait, you never had the party?
No, we started planning it out, and then we never did it.
I feel like I got robbed.
Yeah.
Like the whole build up to this was.
Yeah, that's not a good story.
Because I just want to know what happens when someone's on chair duty and then someone just like lets off a big old fart.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it might not mix well, because if you have like party drinks and stuff, like not a lot of people are gonna want to do chair duty, probably.
No, that's definitely you want to go real early in that. You want early chair shift.
Yeah,
You
very
don't-
early chair shift. There are no chairs after 8 p.m.
So did he have a shower curtain?
That's actually a good question. I think maybe. Yeah, I don't actually. I don't remember, but I think maybe he did. Maybe he did end up buying a shower curtain. No, I think it may have been like a glass shower door or something. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was pretty ridiculous. So he eventually buys these overpriced giant pillows, like really big pillows, and got 2 of these as his only furniture.
This was Kevin post-divorce.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah. No.
You could sort of do the math and figure out who he is.
Yeah. No, definitely post split.
Sorry, Kevin, for blowing up your spot.
Yeah. No, I think so. Someday we'll make this party happen. Maybe we'll make it happen in Southwest France, actually.
Yeah, but you need an apartment first.
Yeah, we need a house. Womp womp. Okay. So, you asked on Twitter if anyone had questions.
Yeah.
Did anyone have questions?
I forget who it was. Someone asked me about how do you expose for multiple exposures.
Oh, yeah, that was Pajamas.
Yeah,
Or he asked about advice for multiple... I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. John, you want to take this one? From the 2 of us, I'll give you the multiple exposure question. I'll take all pinhole questions.
This is opposite day where we try to explain the other guy's style.
Yeah.
So my experience with multiple exposure has been purely digital, I think. Yeah, digital. And that was, I did more of a, just set it in camera and shot it.
Yeah.
With a film camera, I would try to use as sensitive or like a film that has pretty wide exposure latitude on that, so you don't blow it out too badly. To be honest, I would just shoot a bunch of stuff and figure out what works, and then go from there. That's as far as I know how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the problem is people. That's the thing with any of this stuff, right? Is you sort of have to mess with it till you figure out what's going on, and then shelve it until you have a reason to use it. Using things for no reason after you have a basic mastery is just sort of a waste of time, and you can't use things intentionally until you have a basic mastery, if that makes sense. So you sort of have to like screw around, figure it out, and then not use it as some sort of gimmick unless you have a reason to, which I think is just like what you're saying, like do a bunch of junk, go, I figure out how this is going, I'm never taking a multiple exposure again.
and you're a big anti-gimmick guy.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm gonna put a pin on that for you, like gimmicks bother the hell out of you.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, single exposures are the most abused gimmick in photography.
You told me that like 6 months ago, and it still
podcast.
It still cracks me up.
No, so, but for real, multiple exposures. If I was to give a quick rundown, it's the easy thing that dark areas allow for the next exposure to show through, right? Mm-hmm. And bright areas erase and take over. And it's really easy to make them too busy, which is what you see a lot from this just sort of like accidental or haphazard double exposure stuff. So you really have to think about where are the dark areas and what are you going to put into those and how. And that's just sort of what you have to think about. And if you're doing double exposures, you just shoot like your film is twice as sensitive. So a very beginner thing is if you're shooting with 400 ISO film, right? Mm-hmm. Set your camera to 800, and that's the easy way to do it at first. Just
so when you were using it, what was the process that got you into using it more than once you figured it out? Because you say you don't like gimmicks.
Yeah.
What was the thing that caught you, and then you're like, I want to use this?
The thing that caught me was actually the process of having to think about how the two exposures work together in my head, right? Rather than doing a digital thing where I had to actually plan and think about and conscientiously choose 2 shots, and it's hard. Yeah. It's legitimately hard. And so for me, the initial appeal was it was that it was actually good mental fodder good mental fodder, yet still an artistic outlet. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Do you earlier in this so little backstory, Dave's visiting from southern France back to Philadelphia, so we've been chatting a lot on this trip. And and I think at the diner, you were talking about sort of your frustration with photography and where your photography is that to some extent the fact that you had this challenge of trying to figure out double exposures. In a sense, you solved the puzzle. Like, you figured out how to do it consistently, and that with that, you sort of with the mystery being gone, the lure of it has also disappeared.
No, not for me, because for me it's now I treat number of exposures like you might treat aperture, right? Like you might treat aperture. It just sort of is part of photography for me now. Now that I've mastered it, right? I just, how do I do double exposures? Do I use splitters? Where do I use them? And how? Like, I do take single exposures sometimes, right? Like, but it's just, it's like saying I shoot f/22 sometimes, right? Like,
okay.
Yeah. And no, because for me, actually, what then came is I got the chance to really use photography as an artistic outlet. So I've sort of moved on to the more philosophical, because I see art as philosophy by other means, right? Like, I see aesthetic should be the direct result of a burgeoning philosophy, right? And so for me, it's sort of freed me up to have sort of deeper ideas about what I want to do artistically, and then I'll use photography to do it. My frustration is more in that there's so much noise in photography, and it's so, quote, easy to take good, and you guys can't see if you're listening, but I'm making really strong air quotes. They're like pretty good air quotes, I'd say, right?
Yeah, it's like your form is down.
Yeah, okay. I've been practicing air quotes, and no, so like it's very easy to take good photos, and I got a digital camera recently for video, and it's almost depressing because it's so easy to be white noise. So my frustration is that photography as an art form hasn't grown much in the past 100 years like you'd expect from any other artistic medium.
Do you think the ease of the tools almost become a hindrance to that?
Maybe. I think it's actually because the tools became more and more technology centered. I think it's attracted not pure artists, but is attracted people who like gear, almost, right? And so rather than attracting people, so those of us who are really trying to create art and trying to delve deeper or push stuff, right? Because I know you too, you found something and you've been pushing at it and trying to work at it and trying to perfect it and try to, right? And those of us try to push somewhere. And I'm not saying like I'm doing anything great, but even in double exposures and splitter photography, I've been trying to push to like meaningful double exposures. It just is so easy to be white noise because there are so many people who have the gear because that's what they like. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it does. It's sort of it ties in with this idea that I've been working on, sort of noodling in my head, is that most photographers are craftsmen,
yeah,
and not artists,
yeah,
and so there's this. They're looking for a precision with the tools that they have to deliver a consistent, obvious result, so that their end result becomes, or at least initially, is purely almost mechanical.
Yeah.
I think there's a point where where that craftsman can transcend into a more artistic space, but it almost requires reaching a point where you've been at it for so long that the tools have lost their potency, in a sense. Like, you've almost become so familiar with the tools that they lose this power,
Yeah.
And and it's something where I have this idea, but I don't know where. I don't know what it, if you want to say, means in terms of actionable things on for the grand scheme of things, and I'm not even sure what it means for me specifically. It's just almost like a theory of that sort of, in a sense, explains the people who, explains that I've been on the streets for so many times, and even though I don't have a Leica, I don't have the cameras that get people's attention, people still stop me and be like, "Oh, is that so and so?" They have no idea what I created.
You asked if your Holga was a Leica once. I remember you telling me someone stopped you. Was like, "Is that a Leica?"
Yeah, someone did, and
a Holga pinhole.
I think my just sheer confused state on it. I mean, I didn't even have red tape on it, so it's it's not even excusable.
Yeah, it'd be better if you just cut out a little red dot and stuck it on your Holga.
Oh, I should. And then watch people freak out when I drop that thing and it's clattering on the floor because of the plastic camera.
I don't know. This is a really hard one to figure out, right? Because say you're a painter and artist, right? And a lot of the great painters who pushed boundaries first mastered basic technique and worked hard at that stuff first. And so it's not that that's not present in other fields, but it feels like mastery is completely internal, right? You're working on technique. The brush never changes as you get better. But there is this really easy way with photography to go, well, I can only advance if I can get a wider aperture, whatever. Because it's not, you're not looking into internally to figure out how to create an aesthetic. You're looking towards the gear. So I mean, the mastery is requisite, sort of in all artistic medium. But
do you think that people I know people buy and sell gear at an astonishing rate?
Yeah.
In photography circles, and I don't mean that as necessarily as a judgment, but more of just a statement in that people are looking for something different in their work, but they, in a sense, they're not willing to. They don't put the necessary. I wouldn't even say work, but they don't sit with what's bothering them in their work long enough. They immediately go to, I need a new piece of gear.
They put the onus on the gear rather than themselves. Yeah. No, I mean that's absolutely true. This gets back to, and I know we've talked about this together. I know about the whole restriction helping the creative process. For me, that's part of why I like film photography so much, because I do graphic design and I know Photoshop really well. And I know how to create all this stuff really quickly in Photoshop. And so there's this restriction on what I can do that makes me push boundaries on what I do. And so the resulting things maybe I could have done in Photoshop, but I would have never done it in Photoshop because I would have never seen a need to. And so I think forcing yourself to sit down, like you said, and work and figure out, try to work within restrictions, right? Maybe the best thing you can do is you hate a camera, maybe force yourself to use that for a while to create great images. But I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's, I think there's, when people are struggling with their work, there's an instinct to change something in their work, and I think that's actually the wrong response. I think the problem is to almost sit and become more comfortable, almost dig into their work a little more, dig into what's frustrating them, because I think it's like any sort of problem. If you're looking for a solution to a problem, the solution is not found by picking up another problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel that ends up being what happens, is that people end up picking up a new piece of gear, and then they have the new problems caused by, or a new situation caused by this new gear and but they end up in some ways retracing their steps back to their initial thing because they haven't worked out the internal problem.
Yeah. No, that's hard, but recognizing flaws, and I feel like I said this maybe in the last podcast, so this might be redundant, or I talked about this with someone. I don't know if we were recording when I said this before and pointed out, but finding flaws is sort of one of the hardest levels of cognitive reasoning. Does that ring a bell? Did I say this before last time?
I have no idea.
Okay,
that podcast was so long ago.
Yeah, okay, well...
Don't worry about
it.
For
all of you who didn't listen to it anyway... because when I used to teach math at the university, when I teach the upper division proofs course, the hardest questions always were the find the flaw in this proposed proof to this conjecture, and students just could not do it. And I think it's the hardest thing. Like, it's the hardest thing to sit down with your work and actually figure out what the crap is bothering you about it.
How do you find the flaws in your own work?
Yeah.
Like, what's the Dave Allen process to it?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
But
because
in some ways you don't know. But
yeah, see, because the Dave Allen process is sort of weird. I'm not like, I'm not good at hammering at stuff. Like your strength is you hammer and refine. And my strength is I overthink, approximate the end result that I want the first time around, and then never go back to it. I don't know if that makes sense.
No.
Does that make sense? Because
you mentally figure out a problem and then don't do it in reality.
yeah, basically.
Like that party. Like you solved that guy's you solved Kevin's party problem, but you never actually did it.
Yeah, no, because my problem is like it's hard to know. For me, the problem actually in my work is just I am pretty lazy and I'm not very good at hammering away at certain technique that would really, really help my finished product, right? So I bounce around too much. So I don't know. It's a weird question.
But it's definitely a weird question, but I also like asking those weird questions to you because I know you'll wrestle with them.
So who was it? Was it Monica who asked about the disposable cameras?
Yeah.
Right. So we'll bring that up because for FP4 Party, shout out to FP4 Party.
Hello.
Woot!
Party time.
Yeah, John's wearing a giant clock for those of you listening right now.
Yeah, I'm the FP4 Party
hype man.
Aperture.
Oh, damn. Shit.
It's not a clock, it's a big aperture
rig. A big aperture, yeah. Yeah, so he's wearing a giant leaf shutter around his neck. So I don't remember what I was going to say now. No, so if you saw, I posted photos from reloaded disposable cameras. Mm-hmm. And that's a project where, because this is how I think of things, it's actually going against the gear centrism. I was talking to a photographer in Toulouse who said, hey, it would be cool if we collaborate sometime. He has a print of mine. He likes my work. But he does like typical magazine-ish stuff, gelled lights, half-naked girls, not at all the kind of photography I do. And we talk about this kind of imposing restrictions on you force creativity sometimes. Yeah. And so instead of going, wow, your photography has nothing to do with my photography, I go, what the crap would collaboration look like? And what would be a great way to do this? So then I had this subversive idea, like, let's do your thing. Let's just do your, meaningless photography that's trying to celebrate, shallow beauty. And I don't think he understands English, so this is okay. And I hope Johan, love you. So I was like, okay, why not? Let's just do this. And I said, hey, let's collaborate. I'm going to reload disposable cameras with like different pro films and stuff, and we will find a way to sync them with your studio lights, and we'll just like shoot like magazine style photography on disposable cameras. And like I sort of don't even care if it's me who pushes the shutter, right? It's more conceptual because that's how I work, right? And so finding the flaws in my work is more finding the flaws in the concept or the weakness in the concept more than my execution, because I know I'm too lazy to have the best execution in the world. So I've just given up on that. But it's more of a, like, from a conceptual level, like I have to evaluate. And this is what I like. And that's what I mean when I sort of deal with it ahead of time, because I mull through the concept and ideas, and I can do that without ever picking up a camera. Does that make sense? Like, what if I did this? What's the problems with it? What is it I want to get across?
You effectively model the end result in your head, versus actually hitting the shutter.
No, definitely. And so the FP4 shots were actually the test shoot for this. It was right before I left for the States, which happened to coincide with FP4 Party Shoot Week, like very nicely. And so one of the cameras I loaded with FP4 for the test, just black and white stuff, easy. So we didn't have a makeup artist or a hairstylist or anything. It was just set up the lights, make sure we could sync the flashes, which worked. And so it's just sort of like a subversive, like it's a middle finger to gear centrism. Like, no, we're going to do everything like you normally do, just with disposable cameras. I don't care if I'm the one who actually hits the shutter or not.
Yeah. We'll get back into the theoretically, just out of curiosity. How do you load a reloadable?
Disposable.
Yeah.
So I made a video for this on YouTube.
Oh, fun.
Because my buddy, Frank, if you listen to this, Frank, I love you. Shout out. Frank is a film photographer in Toulouse and one of my really good friends in Toulouse. And he used to work at a camera shop, and he actually helped get me into. So you and another John, like that was sort of what encouraged me to get into film photography. And talking to Frank in Toulouse helped push me into more experimental and double exposure stuff. And he just knows a lot, and he doesn't care about gear. Right, he cares about finished product and stuff, and it's just really interesting. So at the camera shop, I was like, "Well, can you reload disposable cameras? Because I rock climb." I was like, "That would be a great idea, like something that you can drop." He's like, "Yeah, sure," and he explains to me. I was like, "Okay, cool." So I figured I understood what he said, but I was like, "Okay, I'll go home and see if I can find a video just to watch it too, right?" To make sure I got it right, and I could find no video on how to do it anywhere. Maybe there are others now. So just for fun, I did it. It worked fine, and then I made a video on YouTube explaining how to reload disposable cameras, and it's the only tutorial video I've ever done, and it's the only video I have that has tons of views. It's like 10,000 views.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's like everything else is like 50 views. One video, how to reload disposable camera, 10,000. Like.
By the way,
so
an idea popped in my head. Well, we should get a whole bunch of the disposable cameras, load them with random film.
Yeah.
Don't label them.
Yeah.
Send them to photographers.
Yeah.
No instruction.
Yeah.
And they send it back, and we develop.
Yeah. Oh, this is okay. I like this. So here's what we do: we label each one with just some sort of random label, so we know what it was.
Yeah, like a number 1, number 2, number.
And then we do it, and we just send them out, and we dev. And if we decide we want to X-Pro this, we want to.
I mean, we could do whatever we want, like whatever we want to.
Yeah, like a disposable like airdrop to the film photography community. I would do this with you. Let's make this happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Listeners.
How many do you think we need?
I don't know. It depends how many should we like. It's more of the cost and just making sure we can get all the disposable cameras. But I mean, if we have enough people interested,
how many do those Ilford ones cost?
I don't